pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger roll with planet. Pilot downside SE off.
Yikes. You bet. Okay. We don't need any more of these.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Fire. This is NASASpaceflight live, Boca Chica. Look at that. We've got Starship SN8 directly in front of us. We've got the recondenser. That's that cloud of condensation that is currently emanating from behind those three black vertical tanks there, the middle of the frame. And we've got Starhopper going nuclear. Look at that. They've got some new lights on Starhopper or something. But before I keep blathering on, I'm joined tonight, as usual, by Michael Baylor. Michael, what's up?
How's it going, everyone? And it looks like the tank farm is also now starting to produce some vapor, so we will progress our timeline. But as you can see, Starhopper has some really bright lights now. That is a change that we have first seen tonight, so that's a bit of a challenge for us seeing the tank farm, but perhaps all those vapors will help obscure Starhopper's bright lights. But anyways, we are expecting a wet dress rehearsal tonight and a bunch of other testing as well. We don't know exactly what it's going to be. SpaceX does not give an official list of things they're going to test as usual, but we could see some RCS firings as well. I'm not sure if we'll see any flap actuations. I think they're still tied down, but potential for some exciting tests today, even though there will not be a engine firing from what we understand. It was originally supposed to be a static fire during today's testing window, but the current understanding is that it's no longer on the table. They are instead just doing a wet dress rehearsal. So presumably some other test objectives they want to complete before they do the 15-kilometer test flight sometime later this month, most likely. But anyways, we are also joined today, as usual, by Mary Boca Chica, who is providing us with this view. So thanks again to Mary, who is once again out in the field all day, getting us videos, clips for the daily video, and of course the live stream footage as well.
Yeah, you beat me to it. I was going to say, that's who's bringing us the camera view as usual, is Mary out in the field. Speaking of that camera view, look at the way that the rays of light are being sort of manipulated by that cloud there. That looks so cool.
Yeah. There's a lot of condensation right now.
Yep, farm is fully spooled up and extra active, just like we want to see ahead of some testing tonight. So yeah, if you guys have questions, feel free to ask put at NASASpaceflight, and that'll help us see what your questions that you are asking, and I can go through here and pick them out.
Yeah, I'm guessing we get lots of questions about is it a static fire? Why isn't it a static fire again? We don't know exactly why they're not doing a static fire today. We just know that they're not doing a static fire today. So just to preempt that, they're preparing for a 15-kilometer test flight. It's a very risky flight. They want to make sure everything is perfect. So there might be some extra tests they want to do just to make sure that the data comes back as expected.
Yeah, and right on cue, Rocket Man in chat asking, why does it say WDR? Again, we do not expect a static fire today, which is interesting, given that residents did get the overpressure warning hazard notice that they usually get. But yeah, not expecting that testing today. I guess plans change, right?
Yeah, the fact that the residents got a warning, and now we understand there's not going to be a static fire, indicates that plans changed within the last, since basically when they gave the warning last night until now. So sometime in the last 12 to 18 hours, they decided to go for a wet dress rehearsal instead. There's also another test window tomorrow from 5 a.m. to noon, I think. Let me check quickly. Yeah, 5 a.m. to noon tomorrow. It's a shorter test window because they want to get the beach open as soon as possible for the general public to enjoy the beach on a Friday afternoon. But not sure they're going to be able to get a static fire done tomorrow, given that shorter window that only it lasts in the morning because presumably they'll have to review all the data from this test and reset everything. So it might be a bit tight to make that window, but I'm sure there'll be a bunch of other testing opportunities next week. Again, we don't expect them to test during the daytime on weekends because they want to keep that beach open for the public.
Yeah, that's important. And Elon, I think, has even tweeted as much. It's important that we maintain the support of the general public as we do this. So we're not going to try and just close the beach off on the Fridays and weekends needlessly. Although, when the beach was closed due to COVID purposes, they were testing on the weekends. Sort of tested, kind of a little bit more able to test whenever they wanted. But they've reverted back to a state where they're trying to be good neighbors, so to speak. All right, let me jump through here.
I mean, most of the questions are about the static fire. We're just keep saying it over and over again. We've told you what we know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I mean, that would be my question too if I was tuning in.
Yeah.
And I think the next most popular question, if I was tuning in just as a viewer, would probably be like, "Hey, what was all that stuff in the air during the static fire?" And we don't know what that was, but I think I still don't know if they were reflecting or generating their own light or what. But I think it's safe to say, based on the fact that they did release a hazard warning last night, and they did, at least earlier today, before now, appeared to be planning to do a static fire. The Raptor's probably fine. That whatever we saw flying through the air was probably some debris from the pad, or maybe concrete, or who knows what. Not ice. I don't think it was ice. That doesn't make any sense. But something not Raptor related. I know a lot of people were like, "Uh-oh, was that engine-rich exhaust?" It's like, no. I think it was just pad-rich exhaust. So I think we're fine. Hopefully, we get some more testing here and another static fire in the next couple days. But ultimately, we won't really know the status there unless and if they pull off a Raptor. We haven't seen them do that yet. You would think that if something if that debris was from the Raptor, they wouldn't have tried to do a static fire today. They wouldn't have not pulled the Raptor off yesterday. They had all yesterday to pull that Raptor off if something had gone wrong that necessitated that, but they didn't. So very interesting, and hopefully that answers some of those questions people have about what we saw during that static fire, what's going on today. Stop begging for likes. Thank you for the $5. Super chats are super appreciated, everybody. It really helps us do what we do. And, you're helping bring this feed to everybody around the world. Stop begging for likes. Thank you for the $5. They say, how do you know whether it'll be a WDR static fire? Also love your videos. And in all caps, they say, go Mary, with several exclamations, which that's a sentiment I can agree with. We just go with, let's just go with that. Is our understanding currently. Let's see, going through the thing for more questions. Remington, that's a good one. Remington 243 asks, do you think they will do a test of the flaps, or do you think they're just going to go for it? I think they've been wiggling the flaps a little bit here and there, but right now, I'm pretty sure at least the lower ones there are, I don't know, what would you say they're tied up, Michael, chained up? I'm not sure how I would even describe their current state.
Both of them have a rope or a chain or a cable attached to them, so they might be able to actuate them slightly. I'm not quite sure, but I don't think we're going to see any dramatic flapping tonight, although you never know. Maybe they will, after this round of testing is done, they will go out there and unhook them. We're not quite sure how long this test is going to be. The official testing window that's published on the county's website and that was given to the residents in the alert notice they got said until 9 p.m. But now that we think they're not going to do a static fire, they will have more wiggle room. They have many times in the past extended the testing window when there was not anything that required the residents to leave their homes. When they're doing a static fire test, they request that the residents step outside their homes. I'm not sure, how many people actually do that, but they do ask the residents to leave their homes in case there were to be an anomaly that could break windows and whatnot. So when they're not doing an activity like that, The wet dress rehearsal is a lower risk activity, so they are able to push past the end of the window in most cases. So no hard cutoff tonight, in other words, in terms of when this test must end. So there could be a bunch of different tests built in over several hours.
It'll be before I start rambling, wow, that's really active. But yeah, it'll be a classic night of tank watching where we're not quite sure what to expect and what we're going to see, and we'll just kind of have to sit back and and watch what happens. I'm really curious, Michael, if we'll get another one of those vents that we saw recently. Was it 2 static fire attempts ago or 1 attempt ago where it was the vent out of the that right side forward flap?
Sorry, Doc. The header tank's already venting. I knew you were going to talk about that and say, I wonder if the nose cone's going to vent a lot. Well, and I looked. It made me look to the tip, and I noticed there's a tiny bit of venting up there.
Wow, good eye. I didn't even notice that.
So we'll progress to propellant loading then. And again,
Fantastic.
our timeline is super short because we don't know exactly what's going to happen. So I'll just keep expanding the timeline as events unfold.
Much like a Pokemon, the timeline will evolve. Let's see. Looking for some questions. Patty asked how many Raptors on board. There are 3 Raptors. 3 Raptors. What is it? I think it's Raptor serial number 30, 32, and 36? 39. I forget which one they swapped. It was like 39 for 36, or it's the other way around. But yeah, 3 Raptors.
Aaron asks, will this be a double static fire with the main tank and the second is in the header? So again, no static fire today, but yes, we are expecting another static fire using the liquid oxygen header tank. That will be a double engine static fire. So the first static fire using the liquid oxygen header tank we saw 2 nights ago, that was with a single Raptor engine, and then they're going to do another static fire using the header tank with 2 engines. We're not quite sure why. Some people are theorizing that might be because they will do the flip maneuver with a single engine and then the final landing burn with 2 engines. We're not quite sure which way it's going to be, but it could also just be that they were wanting to take it easy with the first static fire from a header tank. So not quite sure the reason behind that, but expect 2 engines on the next header tank static fire and then a final 3-engine static fire using the main tanks at a minimum before the hop. It's possible, the data from those tests could come back not as great as they were hoping for, and that could require additional static fire tests. But at a minimum, we expect at least 2 more static fire tests before they attempt a hop. And Joey, thank you for the $5, and Jala, thank you for the 10 Australian dollars. Jala, I recognize your name, so thank you so much for tuning in and supporting the stream on a regular basis. I think you and Blake are big supporters from Australia.
I love that we have people from around the world too. That's the coolest. Did we set up bingo as a chat? I don't think so. We should. Let's see, I'll go through and look for some more questions. Joe Wakefield asking, would they ever do back-to-back static fires with a couple of, I'm assuming you mean minutes in between, to simulate engine restart in flight? I don't know. I would think that they would want to analyze any data after a firing, but at the same time, it makes logical sense that they might want to fire the engines and then start them up again, rapidly after, only a few minutes, because they want to simulate a profile very similar to what it will actually end up doing in flight. But I don't know. We haven't heard anything about them doing like a double whammy static fire, so if we did, that would definitely be very interesting. But so far, I don't think we expect to see anything like that ahead of flight. I think that's kind of one of those things that will make the 15-kilometer hop a little bit more interesting. Because there will be a lot of things we don't know exactly how they'll go.
I just saw a brief vent from the tank section, sort of halfway up the Starship. It would be interesting to see how much propellant they put in Starship for this test. We've seen during a static fire there's usually not much frost on the outside of the Starship, which we think indicates that it's, only propellant in the very bottom portions of those bulkheads or thrust pucks, whatever you want to call them. So perhaps this wet dress rehearsal could be to test putting more propellant into Starship, because they're going to have to do that for the hop, but that's only a guess. We'll have to see what actually happens. But it will be interesting to keep an eye on things like frost and venting, and we can compare that all to the static fires we saw the last couple of nights of testing this week and see what kinds of differences we see.
I can't wait to see this thing fly. Oh my gosh. It feels like we've been a week away from flying for a month now. We're in classic Boca Chica fashion. Oh man. Come on though. Seriously, like fly. I just want to see it in the air.
You can see condensation below Starship now, as in coming from the aft skirt. If you look really closely behind those vapors in the foreground, you can see some vapors coming from underneath Starship directly.
Yeah, so those Raptor engines are chilled down cryogenic propellant, I guess, flowing through the Raptors to get them to operating temperature. That's like one of those signs along with the venting. It's like, oh, SN8 is awake. It's working.
Yep. Rough Riders, thank you for the $5. Another regular. Good evening all. How's your coverage plan going to work with Atlas V tomorrow? Due to Crew 1 camera setup happening at the same time? Great question. I think Chris G was talking that we have a solution. So I think NASA is going to make it work so that media covering Crew 1 can also see the Atlas launch happen. So I think we will have a live stream tomorrow. Our exact plans are still being hashed out, but I think we will have a live stream tomorrow. And I'm now seeing some liquid oxygen venting from the right-hand side of Starship. I'm looking to see if that turns into a dual vent or a tri-vent. We've seen numerous liquid oxygen venting areas around the base of Starship. Sometimes we see 2 at once, sometimes we see 3 different vents at once. But right now I'm just seeing one single vent, I think.
Mike Smith, thank you for the $20. $20 is a no kidding amount of money. Thank you so much, Mike Smith. You say Hoppy needs blinders. No C, thank you for the... I don't know, I kind of like it. I like the way that it looks. I mean, I get it. It's bright. It might be a little bit distracting, but the vehicle is far more illuminated now. And like when those clouds of vapor go in between the light and us, we get those cool like light rays. I'm into it. I don't know. To each their own. If you want to get up there on a crew lift and put some blinders on it, but SpaceX security may tap. No C, thank you for the €5. CAMP Railroad, thank you for $5. Oh, you got your snacks ready? Good. Hopefully that's not an effort to game the bingo game by making me mention snacks. Philip Whitehouse, and thank you for the support. Philip Whitehouse, thank you for £5. They say, thanks to Mary for finding a camera view, not completely obscured by the light. Thank you so much, Philip. And then, and Philip threw in a bob also. Everyone throw a bob in. If you remember, throw a bob in. Hef Williams, thank you for the $10 Australian. Thank you everybody so much. Hef, thank you especially for your Australian upside down. I'm
really
sorry, I'm an idiot.
Jack, it is clearly now a bivent, as you call it.
Yeah.
We see 2 of those adjacent liquid oxygen vents from Starship, and we expect that to become a tri-vent, I would assume, in the next couple of minutes, like we saw.
This is really interesting though, Michael.
Yeah.
This is the sort of the opposite as we saw with the previous attempts for that single engine static fire where the left side and side facing us were the two that started, and then the one on the right sort of came on a few minutes later. Now we're seeing back to start, and I guess we expect to see the one facing us start up here shortly. But that's a different flow than what we've seen so far.
Definitely interesting. And I'm
I
wondering.
wonder if that's related to the expected next static fire being a 2-engine static fire versus the previous one being a single engine. But I don't know. Either way, it's a different behavior. We'll have to plug that into the spreadsheet that Adrian is making.
Yep. And I think if this goes like we saw on the previous nights, we should see that third vent open up within the next couple of minutes. And once that happens, that's usually around T-minus 12 to 13 minutes if there were to be a static fire. Again, today we don't expect a static fire, but that will give you some perspective as to where we would be in the countdown had there actually been a static fire planned for tonight. Wow, Robert Hobson. $50.
Oh, Bob Hobb. Thanks, Bob Hobb. Holy cow.
What did you say to Chris B? Now I want to know. My apologies. What? Go ahead.
I don't think I saw that. Yeah, I'm going to scroll up in Discord.
You must have said something negative about one of Chris, or both of Chris B's favorite things, the round ball and iced tea. Other than shuttle, I guess. At least you didn't attack shuttle. It could have been worse.
Yeah, if you attack shuttle and horses and tea and round ball, then you might get big. No, I'm kidding. Soccer playing horses. Oh God, I said soccer. What have I done? I gotta go. Thank you so much, Robert. Seriously, thank you. It's always good to see your name pop up. There's several people like y'all that come in and it's cool. It's cool to see the same. I remember you. Thank you.
That's a lot of venting coming from those two ports.
Yeah, that's extremely vigorous as usual. I mean, I'm expecting the one facing us to start up any second now.
Yeah.
See.
Allison asks, what do you think the chances are that this is actually a static fire? Greater than 0, but not likely. I mean, there's always a very, very slight chance that plans change again. Wow, that header tank is really venting now. But, I mean, Elon could always, like, crack a whip and last minute say, I want us to just do a static fire, but I think it's most likely that they're not even set up for a static fire tonight, so I don't think it's going to happen. But not 0% chance, maybe like 5% chance or less.
So if our timeline is right, we should start to see that tri-vent, that forward-facing tri-vent, start up here in the next minute or two. And remember, they're not going to do a static fire or any test without doing. Wow, look at that nose cone go.
Yeah, I'm adding another status update. I'm just going to keep adding statuses.
But yeah, they're not going to static fire without doing a siren, and we're not expecting sirens, despite the residents having gotten that hazard now. So we're not even listening for a siren. We don't expect it. Although if we do hear one, that will be interesting, and we will we'll then just have to kind of wait and see what happens. But thank you, Allison, for the support. Good question. Rocketman asking, do you have any idea how long the 15-kilometer flight will be? I did some math, and I figured out about 1 minute for ascent and 2 for descent with terminal velocity about 150 meters a second. I don't know. I haven't done that math. I'm sure people in our Discord have. or someone has done that math. I don't know it off the top of my head, but one thing that I did see float by earlier was the header tank have approximately 20 seconds of burn time with 3 engines, which I just found really interesting. So I don't know. I know that doesn't answer your question, but I do think, I don't know. Do we expect it to go supersonic, Michael, as part of the 15-kilometer flight?
I don't know. It's a good question. I have not done the math and tried to estimate what velocity it's going to have to hit to reach that.
Yeah, I'm very I'm very curious
I know
in
that
terms of how
Zach
long
went
the
from
whole event is going to take. I mean, the
yeah.
for serial number 5 and serial number 6, I think it was around a minute, maybe like 50 something seconds tops. But that was just 150 pop. So yeah, maybe between like 2 and 5 minutes, something like that. I don't know. It's going to be spectacular no matter how long it actually. But it's a good question.
Oh, we
Now I
got a
want to.
tri-vent. Sorry, Jack.
No, look at that, right on time. No worries. A really good question. If we get some discussion going in our Discord here, it'll tell me what the right answer is. Maybe I'll read it out loud. Blake Parsons asking, do you think they could do a wet pre-burner instead of a wet dress rehearsal? That's not what we're expecting. Plausible? Anything's plausible, but that's not what we're expecting. Blue Fire Vulpix asking, why does SpaceX do a lot of their tests at night? Also, thank you guys for what you do. Thank you, Blue Fire Vulpix, for the $10. SpaceX, I think a lot of times, I mean, the window for this opened during the day, right, Michael?
Yes, it opened at 9 a.m.
So I think, you know, I think a lot of times SpaceX's timelines are extremely optimistic. And if they have a window that opens during the day and goes into the night, if just because they end up testing a lot of the times at night doesn't necessarily mean they're trying to go at night, they're doing it at night so nobody can see or anything like that. It just means they were ready to test later on in the window. For whatever reason, the amount of time that it took them to do the things that they needed to do before testing was longer than they expected, and it just ended up running to the end of the window. I think that's just sort of basically, everyone always jokes about Elon time and stuff like that. So it's pretty standard for things to take longer than Elon and SpaceX generally estimate. I mean, and having optimistic timelines isn't a bad thing. If you have pessimistic timelines or reasonable timelines, then you're not aiming aspirationally to go faster. So that's I think they just happen to test at night because that's when they're ready to test. I know that's probably not a very satisfying answer, but it's sometimes the simplest answer is the most correct. But I could be wrong. Thank you so much, Blue Fire, for the $10. And Wade Jackson, thank you for the $5. Wade Jackson, really cool name. Like, I'm not kidding. If that's a good movie character, his name Wade Jackson. He's not gonna take your guff. Thank you. Wade Jackson says, thank you for the coverage. Any idea why it's called a wet dress? Because it uses actual propellants and it's a dress rehearsal. I don't know. That's not a satisfying answer, but yeah, it's not just a pressure test or proof test using liquid nitrogen inert. It's actually using the real liquids, the real methane and the real oxygen. But I don't know. Do you have any insight into that? That's like a good Scott Manley question. Because because in 1960, that's what Joe Rocket called it. I don't know. Do you have any insight into that, Michael?
Um,
Why it's called a wet dress?
It's called a wet dress rehearsal because there's liquid propellant in the vehicle, as opposed to a dry dress rehearsal where you don't actually put propellant into the vehicle, but you just test out some systems or some for demo or Crew 1, excuse me, they were doing a dry dress rehearsal today with the crew actually ingressing into the vehicle, but they didn't actually put propellant into the vehicle to keep it as a safer test for the crew. So wet dress rehearsal means they're actually dealing with propellant.
All right, much better answer than I was I was able to give. Thank you. That's far superior. And thank you. Go for it.
Go for it. You're good.
I was just gonna say, and thanks Wade for your support there, buddy.
Yeah. I was gonna say, in a normal static fire timeline, we should be hearing the static fire, or static fire. We should be hearing the siren, or the siren within the next minute, or perhaps even a couple minutes ago. So somewhere in this general time frame, we should be hearing that siren. But again, we do not expect a static fire today, so we shouldn't hear a siren. But depending on the exact timeline of this test, we should be around 10 minutes until the target T0 had to have been an engine firing today.
Cool. Yeah, I'm really enjoying that we've been able to put together, because it definitely, so far anyways, with a few data points we've had, has been illuminating. We've been able to figure out a little bit more what's going on as we watch. So definitely useful. And again, we're not expecting to hear a siren. We're not expecting engine firing tonight. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
I'm just waiting for the sirens. We have to eat our words.
I mean, it's always possible, but that's why when we say things, we make sure to appropriately hedge and say, that's our understanding, but, things can
Barry
change.
just said she heard a siren.
No way. No way. What?
I'm not hearing it, though, on this. I'm turning up the volume. I mean, it could also be they're doing some other type of hazardous testing, so you have to warn the residents. Like, we've seen a pre-burner have a siren before and whatnot, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times we've been thinking that the siren was only related to engine firing specifically. But one time recently, we have seen the siren go off just for a pre-burner test. So maybe they'll do a pre-burner test. Maybe they'll do a static fire. Maybe they'll do neither. And they just did the siren because, like you said, they're doing some other kind of hazardous testing. Huh.
Yeah,
Let's see.
okay. And
Go for
the
it.
forums also said there was a siren, so there was a siren.
What? So weird.
Well, whatever it's going to be, we're live, so you're not going to miss anything.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll find out here shortly what's going to happen. Emma Bentley, welcome to PadRat. Thank you for the new membership. You get some chat emoji, you get members preview videos, all kinds of good stuff. Thank you so much, Emma, for the support. Leaf the Revante, thank you so much for the $5. They say these occasional sirens outside really throw me off when watching these streams. I perk up and then get disappointed because it's not the siren. Oh, so somebody drove by where you are, played a siren, thought it was the real one. That's a really mean fake out. Thank you for the support there. And Zippy Thing, thank you for the $10. Awesome. So it would seem to me that nighttime testing would interfere less with construction and other operations at the site. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, Zippy. Thank you for the $10. And Gordon Murphy, thank you for the $5. Thank you, everybody, so much for supporting the stream tonight.
Anyway, add a mystery event to our timeline, so we're not sure what's going to happen next. I am still leaning against the static fire, though, so we'll see. But don't quote me on that.
I'm quoting you. I'm sending it to the papers. It's quoted.
I mean, we've seen a siren for a pre-burner test before, so in general, any sort of riskier test is going to
They did the
cause a
siren
siren.
for like 7.1 pop test. I don't remember.
No,
I don't think so, but I don't remember.
no. But that didn't have any propellant. This has propellant, so.
The plot thickens.
I mean, like I said, we're live, so it's not like we didn't go live. So whatever happens, you're gonna see it. I will remove the ticker though, just in case something exciting happens.
I mean, I was so perplexed by the fact that there even was a siren, I forgot to set a 10-minute timer on my watch. Darn it. Do you remember when it was? How far into siren territory are
I can go into our messages, and Mary said it at 5 o'clock, so that's my
Alright,
time. So 7 o'clock Central Time. So we should be within
Alright.
2 minutes.
Yeah,
whatever
really
it
any
is you're
second
going
now.
to do. Yeah.
And we still don't think it's a static fire, but it could be. But it probably isn't, but it might be. But you never know. It's just kind of the nature of the beast.
We didn't really hear the siren on our stream though. That's the part I'm wondering about.
Yeah, fair point. Because we do
Mary
have the
definitely
ambient
heard
audio
it.
on, right?
Yeah, we have it on. We do have some. When Mary's in a card, we get a lot more buzzing because of the modems causing interference. But we do have some sound suppression on. But I think we should have heard the siren pretty clearly. So I mean, who knows? Maybe there was an unrelated siren. That would be one extreme coincidence. But it's just weird that we didn't hear it on stream.
Yeah, that is interesting. Huh. Yeah, Nomad posted in the forums too that he heard a siren.
I mean, I would have think that Mary probably would have seen the police car driving up and down. So I'm guessing there. I don't see how it could not have been the actual siren, but I guess there's a slim chance it could have been like an ambulance or something. I don't know.
I doubt it, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a wet dress rehearsal and they're trying to really nail procedures down for the 15-kilometer flight, maybe they just are running through the checklist. Like, okay, do siren, and then the officer just did a quick little siren rather than doing what we normally see, which is where they turn the siren on and then sort of drive at full speed up and down the road. And you can hear even the Doppler effect, siren going over here to over there as it changes positions relative to the camera. And we didn't get any of that. So very interesting. Maybe they're just doing an actual wet dress rehearsal in the sense that they're even going to go through and do the siren, but we'll just have to kind of wait and see here what happens next.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely did not drive right past Mary's vehicle with the siren on. They must have, yeah.
We're around 10 minutes now, so
Oh, go ahead.
Whatever hazardous operation they were using that siren to warn of, we're in the middle of it right now, presumably.
Yeah. And I think Mary might have been at home working on getting stuff uploaded for the daily video. So that's why she heard the siren, but we did not hear it on stream.
That makes sense.
But anyway, we're about at T-10, or we're about at 10 minutes on that siren. So if anything visually notable is going to happen, it's going to happen in the next minute or so, presumably.
It's been more than 10 minutes since Nomad posted on the forum.
And since Mary posted.
Yep.
Again, I would not expect a static fire, is what I would say. I still am fairly confident it's not going to happen, but you never know. Crazier things have happened to Starship.
Yeah, tell me about it. Remember that time Starhopper had a thrower the size of Starhopper? I still don't know if that was a nominal thing or not. I really would like to pick somebody's brain about that.
Yeah, I've updated the status to mystery event because whatever it is should be happening about now.
Yay, mystery event.
There is that high rate liquid oxygen flow, so it should be around T0 we're coming up on now. That's usually what we see.
Oh, did it do a jet? I wasn't watching.
On the right hand side, look at it. It wasn't like a jet, but it's now pouring out liquid oxygen.
Right, right. That's so cool seeing the light come through the condensation. That awesome. Let's see what else we got.
Something just happened on the bottom right. There's another plume of gas and condensation.
Huh.
Maybe they're testing some pumps on the vehicle or something, and
This looks so cool.
this is insane. Whatever it is,
Yeah.
it's cool.
Yeah.
We're now 14 minutes past the siren, but we've not seen the depressed event yet, so I don't think whatever the event is has completed yet.
I wonder if they would.
Oh,
What?
static fire.
Looked like a really short static fire.
That
Still a
looked
little
the
bit of
same to
fire under
me.
the vehicle. That's
Wow, that looked good. We saw that debris fly again.
yeah, but not nearly as much. I can't believe they did a static fire. Well, we were wrong. They did a static fire. Look at that. We gave it a 5% good chance, and they did a static fire. We can be wrong sometimes, guys. That's okay.
Like I said, there was a chance. Now we see that lots of depressing.
Vehicle looks good, hanging out.
There is some
Maybe
fire.
change.
There's some fire, Jack.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Something's coming down.
That's good at
There's
all.
like sparkling or something. That doesn't look too good.
That's definitely not good. It looks like it's
Uh,
increasing.
yeah, this could be quite suboptimal.
And they're not. It doesn't look like they're depressing the vehicle or any point. It's just sitting there. Maybe that's like an ignition sparkler, but again, it does kind of look like it's growing in frequency, and now there's sort of larger chunks coming off. Definitely looks like something's dripping there. Did it stop? I think we're okay. Nope, still going. Huh. Well, a night full of surprises. Look at that. I wonder if that was a single or double engine static fire. I mean, I don't know that we would be able to tell the difference visually. Cody in chat saying they could be testing an engine sparkler for relight. I mean, that's plausible. I know that the igniters for the Raptor are basically a giant sparkler, so could have been something like that. Hopefully, nothing serious.
I mean, the next static fire we were expecting was 2 engines, so it's really hard. It's always hard to tell how many engines they ignited, but presumably it was 2.
I mean, I wonder if they could be actually testing a relight because they're still not depressing. I still can't believe they static fired. What?
Lots of frost.
Let's see. AJ Klein, thank you so much for the $5. Ollie Nelson, thank you for the $5. Peter Ross, for the $10 Australian. Thank you everybody so much for the help tonight. No C, thank you for the €5. Said somebody pressed the confused media button. You got that right. Oh man, threw me for a loop. Andrew Cuddy, thank you for the new membership. Let me see if I can see where you came in at. Padrat, thank you for the membership, Andrew. Gabe Roll, thank you for the $20. They say I stayed up and watched your stream of the first 3-engine static fire. It was very awesome. Thank you. Question. Well, first off, you're welcome. Thank you for the $20. And your question is, when do you think we'll see Super Heavy assembled and ready to start testing? I sure hope by the end of the year, but really, who knows? We're already kind of coming up on midway through November, and we have seen 2 sections of the Super Heavy booster moved into the high bay, but so far, no joy in terms of seeing them stacked or seeing more stacked or seeing it ready to roll out. I mean, it's going to be anytime SpaceX has a world of first time having done something. It takes a little bit longer, and then they work out all the kinks, and then they do it faster the next time, faster. so forth. So, but yeah, thank you so much, Gabe, for the $20 super chat, and thank you for the support. I'm just sitting here watching SN8. Don't you fire up again? What are you gonna do next, buddy? Still haven't done any kind of tanking or anything. It's just kind of sitting there, steady state. Tamir, thank you for the $5. I say thanks for streaming, being out there for all of us. You're welcome, Tamir. Celadon Hair Extraordinaire. Thank you for the $5. New Zealand. Say the mystery event is the friends we made along the way. True. Thank you for the support. Connor, thank you for the $4.99 curly L's. Trouble Sketch, thank you for $2 Australian. We don't know if anything melted or not. Hopefully what we saw was just like some latent sparkler activity or something. Who knows? And it'll be very interesting to see what that was. Hopefully we get some word on Twitter or something. Elon, that'd be really good, but he's been kind of quiet lately. Thank you for the support, Trouble Sketch. Gary, thank you for $4.99. ALG, thank you for the $5. Say, do you think something is wrong with the vent system now? No, I wouldn't say that. No outward signs of that, but thank you for the $5. Ace King, thank you for the new membership. Let's see, where did you come in at, Ace? Padrat? Padrat. Good call. Thank you for the membership, buddy. And Eric Williams for the $5. Asking, what do we think happened with the last test fire and this one with the sparks? We think that was just material around the pad, or something, maybe a little bit of flame deflection material, or maybe a little bit of concrete, but we don't think it was related to Raptor. Thank you for the $5, Eric. Let's see what else we got here. I still can't believe they did a static fire. What is that? What? Flying the Bug 35 asks, Starship break Mach 1 on its 15-kilometer flight. I would like to know that. I think I saw somebody saying that they did some math and then it would. I find it hard to believe they could break the sound barrier that close to South Padre Island with all the high rises and glass windows and everything. But I honestly don't know. I do not know. But good question, Flying the Bug. It was a hot, wet dress. I found that way too fun. Lachlan, will the 15-kilometer hop have a max Q? Yeah, because the max Q is just the point in the ascent where the air density and your upward forces, or the upward velocity of the vehicle and everything contribute to make the most amount of forces on the vehicle. It's just like that point in flight where the line and the graph converge, right? So yeah, it will have a Q. I don't know if they'll do any kind of throttling down or what to accommodate for that, but that's logical. But we don't know, at what point of the flight that will be or anything like that. That's one of those things where someone has probably done the math, but I haven't seen that, or I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Ben, thank you for the membership. Well, launch director, thank you so much, Ben. That's really generous of you. Ben Love, thank you so much.
Man, I wonder what what we saw coming out of the bottom there, whatever was dripping out. Huh. One of those nights.
I hope Elon tweets.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That would be nice. Oh, cool. Scott Manley's in chat. What up, Scott? Scott is saying if you're going Mach 1 vertically when the engine's cut, then the ballistic trajectory carries you another 5 kilometers or so, which means the 15-kilometer test may not break Mach 1. Thank you, Scott. Very insightful. Still no like depressurization or any kind of major activity from the vehicle. Looks like we're in a steady state still. Huh. I'm in just a state of confusion over here. Here, let me look for some more questions. How about?
It's Starship testing. It never goes as you would expect it to go. That's basically the lesson learned here.
Yeah, that. I mean, what just happened? Okay, let's see. Lewis asking what changes does SN9 have over SN8? We think they're pretty much identical, but SN9 is fully made up of the 304L steel. That's the different alloy of steel versus the 301. The SN8 has parts of it made out. So SN9 is the first fully 304L Starship. Dieter giving us $7 Canadian. Thank you so much, Dieter. They say, I'm late. Do we not hug the ground equipment and do the required dance? I'm not familiar with the dance or the hug. But thank you so much for the $7, bud. And Vidiv, thank you for the $15. Say, whoever writes the whimsical comments on Mary's daily videos really brightens our day, night. Please keep them coming. Thank you so much. That's mostly me, so thank you so much, Vidiv.
Look at the drone. It's right by the nose cone.
Oh, whoa. Look at that. But yeah, thank you so much, Vidiv, for the $15, and thank you for the kind words. I really enjoyed putting those labels on the videos and helping people better understand what they're looking at, and hopefully helping people chuckle a little bit here and there. Yeah, there goes the drone. Look at that. Let's see what else we got. Nicholas Black asking, what do you think the next generation of rocket will be like after Starship? Who do you think will make it? Man, I don't know. That's crazy. You're crazy. No, seriously, I honestly have no idea. Hopefully, hopefully for SpaceX's sake, although I don't really have a horse in it, but if SpaceX, you know, wants to continue being, leading the field, then they are going to at some point need to obsolete even Starship in the same way that Starship is hoping to obsolete Falcon 9. But as to what that would eventually be and how long that would take, I have no clue. 20 years, something like that.
Okay, I think I got a replay queued up, Jack.
Excellent. Let's take a look.
The live view is in the corner, and in a second I will play the replay here for you all. We don't have a normal presentation software today, but I think I have hacked this together, so let's take a watch. It should happen within the next 10 to 20 seconds, but as you can see, we were originally expecting a wet dress rehearsal. It turned out to be a static fire. As you can see right there, we saw that parts of the launch pad go flying again, as we saw in the previous nights of testing. And then shortly after, we see some fire coming from the base of Starship right there. So that's the most interesting part for me, is that fire at the after Starship post-test.
Yeah, I'm curious if that was nominal or not. It sure didn't look nominal, but I did see some speculation in chat that might be, part of the ignition system, and that's possible. If it was just something related to Raptor starting up, not getting put out or just burn, or maybe some partial relight test, who knows? But very interesting that we saw that. Very curious as to what that was.
It gets worse too after this. We don't really see it right now, but then it's gonna start up again. So let's keep watching this replay. I'm trying to remember how long it was until that happened. Because right now it looks totally fine. So maybe that helps the theory that it was some ignition system test. But there it is.
There it goes. Yeah, look at that. That's so odd. Just looks like metal, liquid metal dribbling out the bottom of it. Sir Gawain, thank you for the $4.99. Isn't that like Lancelot's buddy or something? Oh man, it's been a while since I read that book. Whatever. I don't even remember what the book was. Oh, my brain. I'm getting old. Liam, thank you for the $5. The Elon's personal UFO. Richard Holmquist, thank you for the $4.99. A toy from Cat. Thank you, Richard, and thank you, William. Gordon, thank you for the $10. Say thanks for all your hard work and surprise tonight. Yeah, I'll say. Talk about a surprise. That was something. Thank you so much, Gordon, for the support. Noel, thank you for the $5. Say drone was right at the header tank. Be icing. No header tank venting. No static fire. But it's static fired. I'm not quite sure what you're getting at there, buddy. Thank you for the $5.
Really quickly, Jack, that we're still seeing some like fiery sparks or drips of fuel or something coming down. So that lasted for a long time, probably about a minute or so. It looks like it stopped now, but I think that's a lot longer than I would expect if it was an ignition systems test. I think that was something else, if I had to guess. But
Yep. I wouldn't disagree, but at this point we really don't know. Brandon
back to live
McDonald.
fish.
So we're back to live now.
Yep.
Excellent. Brandon McDonald with a whopping $50. Thank you so much. At a certain point, I'm going to have to come up with a new word for thanks that's adequate to express my, because thanks is garbage. I mean, $50 is so much. I know. I feel like at this point, if you've watched enough of these streams, you've probably heard me make this spiel a couple times. But truly, I can't imagine donating $50 to. I don't have that kind of money, and as much as I get utility out of the various space things. I mean, I'm a patron of various people and whatnot, but $50 is a lot. That is a lot of money, and I want to acknowledge that. And I thank you, Brendan, from the bottom of my heart. That is seriously awesome. Thank you so much. Let's see. Gamer Ike 777. Thank you so much. You guys hear about the gnome that Rocket Lab is launching passenger on its rocket soon? Love that. I have not heard about that. They're launching. Is it that upcoming mission that has like 60 or something different payloads on it? Do you know about this, Michael?
It's the Flight 16, the reuse. The first attempt, or not reuse, the first attempt at a recovery. They're going to try to land the first stage softly in the ocean under a parafoil, or a parachute, not a parafoil, excuse me. They're going to attempt to recover the first stage, get it on a boat, and see what kind of condition they can return it in, and then figure out from there what kind of improvements they need to do to improve the, the reusability of their launch vehicle. But they are also flying a garden gnome on their launch, and it's just basically a fundraiser for a children's hospital.
Neat. I love Rocket Lab. That's a cool company. Thank you so much for the support there, bud. Eric Williams, thanks for the support. Route 66 Goldhound, thank you so much for the new membership. Where did you come in at? I'm gonna like pop out chat because if I don't and back over to it. It takes like 20 minutes to fly all the way down to the bottom. Where did you come in at? Capcom. Thank you so much, Goldhound. You get Discord access with that lovely membership level. So pop into Discord when that propagates. Say hey.
Okay, Joven says, watch the replay and check the nose cone. So maybe the nose cone did some interesting venting or something. Did you see that, Jack?
Say it again. What about the nose cone?
Joven says to check the replay and watch the nose cone. Did you notice anything with the nose cone?
No, not off the top of my head.
Let's watch the replay again, I guess. I think I have it queued up.
Let's go to the replay.
So
This is my announcer voice.
Joven's saying that something interesting happened with the nose cone, so I will play the footage for us one more time, and we can see maybe there was some venting or something happening during the test. But let's watch the very top of the Starship as the static fire occurs in the next couple of seconds.
All right, I'm watching. I don't see anything. Just looks like the frost got shook off.
Yeah, I think it was I think you're right, Jack. I think there's some ice coming off from that shockwave, maybe, or that vibration.
Yeah, that's all it looks like to me. But I mean, what do I know? Huh.
It does seem like it's taking longer for that venting to peter out than the previous days of testing.
Yeah, they haven't done any kind of detanking or really anything. So, huh. Fascinating. Route 66 Goldhound, thank you for the new membership. Came in at Capcom, which is awesome of you. Again, you get Discord access with the Capcom. So pop into Discord when that propagates for you and you get it all synced up, synced up, whatever. Yeah, pop on in Discord and say hey. We have a habit of posting cursed rocket emoji, so be forewarned. There may be cursed rocket. But it's all in good fun. Tom Hatter, 95, thank you for the $4.99 and curly L's. I mean, it's all the speculation at this point, but thank you guys and Mary from the coverage. And Matt Hicks, thank you for the $2. Erdos Boy, thank you, €5. Route 66 Goldhound says could have been a melting COPV. Do COPVs melt or do they pop? I feel like they pop, but I don't know. Thank you, Goldhound, for the membership and for the $5. And Dieter with the Canadian $7. Say, while we wait, what did the hat say to the? Is this a bad joke? I don't get this. Go on ahead. Oh, I get it. That goes. Ah, that out loud. Now I'm disappointed in myself.
I mean, I think it's too early to say or to try to predict what the result of this static fire was. Clearly, predicting Starship activity is not easy, as you saw today. So it's hard to say if they're going to need to redo this test or not, or if they're going to be able to proceed to the next static fire test. But if it was successful, and that's a big if, again, we saw some things like those sparks coming down or that fuel dripping down, whatever it was that we have not seen before. So that could have been a sign of something going wrong and needing to be redone. But if it was a good test, there could potentially only be one more static fire required before the hop. But again, that's dependent on this test being successful and then the next static fire being successful. But until Elon or SpaceX or somebody hears something that can confirm the result of this test, we're not sure if they're going to be able to do just one more static fire or not before they hop. Is it just primarily that one liquid oxygen vent now? Looks like it. That's interesting. I don't know why it's that vent out of all of them that is the one that is continuing to go. I'd be really interested to know more about why there are 3 different vents on that liquid oxygen side.
I mean, you got to figure that it's 3 different Raptors, 3 different vents, right?
Yeah, but why not just feed them all out through one vent, I guess? I don't know.
Yeah, fair question.
Like Falcon 9 does not have 9 vents for the liquid oxygen, so that's what I'm wondering about. Looks like they are testing Maston's instant landing pad for Artemis. Yes, very, very funny comment, Brendan. That's a good one.
That is actually hilarious. If you guys don't know, Maston has a technology called FAST, F-A-S-T. It's an acronym, and oh man, I'm not gonna remember what it stands for, but it's something like aluminized spray and thrust. I don't know, but basically they spray alumina into the exhaust of the rocket engine, and that alumina. This is I could be wrong, but this is what I remember. The alumina basically is like a spray paint, and like spray paints the surface underneath the plume of exhaust. And there, somebody in chat saying Maston in-flight alumina spray technique. There you go. So, but yeah, so it's basically don't have a landing pad, no problem. Just spray it on as you land, which is hilarious, but might actually end up being integral for Moon and Mars exploration, where we don't want to be kicking up a lot of dust and debris during landings. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, but hilarious comment there, Brent. Maybe that's what we were seeing with all those sparks. But anyways. And on UK radio, thank you for the £5. They say sent with love and thank you for the streams. Thank you for the $5, Anon. And Ed Kincaid, thank you for the $5. I ask, what's the difference between a hop and a flight? I don't know that I could really tell you one way or another. I mean, I think it's kind of like if you feel like it's a flight, it's a flight. If you feel like it's a hop, it's a hop. I feel like 15 kilometers, that's a flight. 150 meters, that's a hop. When there's no control surfaces involved, that's a hop. When there's control surfaces like the flaps involved, that's a flight. But yeah, again with a hop, there's no really aerodynamic forces on the vehicle. It's just sort of going up and down. And yeah, when it's flying, it's flying. You know, it's a less than great explanation, but let's see what else we got. I mean, good question, Ed. The difference between a hop and a flight. I don't know. Blackboard Science, thank you for the $2. They say, isn't the thrust 3? Are you playing bingo, Blackboard Science? Because I don't think, maybe we need to make a bingo rule where it doesn't count if I read something as part of a super chat. But yes, the thrust is to confirm. It's always 3.
Still not seeing a depress and still a lot of venting, so I'm not sure what is going on, but we're just gonna have to wait and find out.
Yeah, this is really curious behavior. We've got what, another hour and 4 minutes left in the window?
Yep.
So Alex in our Discord is based on Austin Barnard's view from his video that he tweeted out. Freaking awesome, by the way. Shout out to Austin. Seriously, great work there, dude. Between Austin's view and ours, Alex was able to kind of triangulate. It looks like the engine that was flaming out at the end there was the leeward side. So there's three engines in a triangle, and sort of the point of the triangle is center quote unquote engine, and the other two are kind of off to either side of that from our perspective. So it would be the leeward side single engine. I'm trying to. I wish I could illustrate. I would draw you guys a diagram. But basically, if you're looking, if you could see through the skirt right now with X-ray vision, you would have the single Raptor. Further away from it, closer, to the other side of the vehicle would be the other two engines offset to either side of it. So that it appeared to be a single engine, at least flaming out at the end there. I don't know about for the static fire itself, but good detective work there. Yeah, and again, I'm not saying that was a single engine static fire or anything. Looked like that's what we could see coming from one engine there. That sort of drooling, the drooling fire, whatever that was. Hopefully just a sparkler or part of the ignition system, but could have been abnormal. We don't until we get an Elon tweet or similar.
Yeah. Maybe one engine had a hard shutdown. We don't know.
Yeah, totally could have been.
It seems like the activity is kind of calming down now after the tank farm. So I think that's usually a good sign of detanking.
What a weird night. I agree there. Rania, chat, I agree. What a weird night. Curiouser and curiouser. Do you want to reset the timeline, Michael, from static fire to like, try venting? Or I don't even know. I don't know what we would change it to at this point.
Yeah. It seems like it's coming down to me. There's definitely no ice on the nose cone, but a lot of that came off during the static fire. It sort of shook it all off. But I mean, I'm going back and I'm watching the footage, and the header tank ice is definitely defrosted. So if
Yep.
you do an A/B test in the 1 in 30 minutes, there's a lot more frost on that nose cone. So I'm thinking they're probably detanking.
Yeah, I mean, the whole vehicle has defrosted. Or it'll be right back. Give me like a. All right, I'm back. Lewis Holland asking, could a turbine adjacent to the preburner have broken apart? Aren't they prone to breaking? I mean, at this point, anything could have happened. We don't know what we saw, but that's as fair a guess as. Retro fan asking, any word from SpaceX as to an expected date for the 15-kilometer hop? Hopefully not the same day as Crew 1. I sincerely doubt that, Retro. We'll just have to wait and see when the hop will be. Then this about debris from the last static fire, and if you watch this one, this static fire. Just seems like pad material, maybe concrete. Ted asking, what are your thoughts on the 15-kilometer hop? Do they succeed on the first attempt? Yes. I'm gonna be that guy, and I'm gonna say yes. But I mean, that's just me wanting them to succeed, right?
Yeah.
And then acid.com asking, so is the latest prediction there were 2 tests before flight would be scheduled for next week then? Well, at this point, I think all bets are off at this acid.com. We are not quite sure what we saw tonight. I mean, they're still not detanking this vehicle. They might, who knows what they're doing. Hopefully the vehicle is in a safe configuration and maybe they're going to go for some more testing, or maybe they're, waiting before they can move ahead for whatever reason. But if tonight's test went well, we expect another static fire and at least a couple days between now and the flight. So maybe next week, but I would say no earlier than week. That's like the rocket world thing that gets said a lot, right? Is no earlier than. Things change, things shift. So no earlier than next week, I think, is a fair guess. But we, again, don't know what we saw. Ben Carter asking about any update on distance restriction for the 15-kilometer hop. Nope. No updates there. I wish we did know what was going on with that, but we currently do not.
Okay, we have an important update from Elon. Elon says on Twitter 51 seconds ago, we lost vehicle pneumatics, reason unknown at present. Liquid oxygen header tank pressure is rising. Hopefully triggers burst disc to relieve pressure. Otherwise, it's going to pop the cork.
Holy cow.
I'll just read that one more time.
Yeah,
Just
read
in
that
case
again.
everyone didn't hear that. Okay,
Read that
this
again.
is from Elon Musk. He replied to Austin Barnard on Twitter. Elon says, we lost vehicle pneumatics. Reason unknown at present. Liquid oxygen header tank pressure is rising. Hopefully triggers burst disc to relieve pressure. Otherwise, it's going to pop the cork. So, in other words, this could be bad.
So we're functionally watching a burst test right now.
Yeah.
That's not good. Ooh, that's really bad. Holy cow. Even if it's just the burst disc popping, that's gonna look crazy. Oh man, come on. Everybody cross your fingers, send SN8 your good vibes, because we don't want to see this vehicle rud. Holy cow.
Okay, I guess there's a pretty large distance between the header tank and the CH4 tank, so I think if the header tank goes, it could just damage the nose cone. Maybe, hopefully, only the nose cone.
Yeah. Wow. This is a first. I'm gonna read it again. We lost vehicle pneumatic, reason unknown. LOX header tank pressure is rising. Hopefully triggers burst disc to relieve pressure. Otherwise, it's going to pop the cork. Oh man. Yeah, so that sounds like the liquid oxygen the liquid oxygen header tank in the nose cone is what's risk. Oh my god, I can't even talk. Is what's at risk of burst. So yikes. Definitely not what we would want to see. A burst disk is easy to replace. True, but not the whole nose cone header tank assembly. I wonder if that fluid we saw leaking was like kind of hydraulic fluid. It looked like,
Maybe. Yeah.
if it was hydraulic fluid that leaked out and then they're no longer able to operate whatever valves they need to operate. Wow. What an unprecedented scenario. And that's why we go live for types of tests. We didn't even expect a static fire, and now we're sitting here wondering what the fate of the entire vehicle will be. Way to go, Austin Bernard, getting that shout out from Elon reply there. Now we know what's going on.
Yeah. It was clearly a spicy static fire, and it might get even spicier, I guess is the way to put it.
Yeah, that's it's a spicy chrome tamale that we're looking at right now. I mean, I really hope serial number 8 pull through this.
I want to see. Okay, here's the thing, Jack. The question
Yeah.
I have is why do they lose vehicle pneumatics? And
Yeah.
the most obvious reason is very simple. All that thrust from the Raptors knocked something loose or broke something. So just again just takes us back to why don't they have a flame diverter? I mean, we've seen with SN4 there was a static fire where they knocked off their umbilical connections and a fuel line was leaking and they had to let the methane burn off or boil off over a period of several days.
Yep.
And we
Yep.
keep seeing debris flying every static fire. I mean, at what point does it just make sense to spend the money and time to build a proper flame diverter? But I mean, that's just again, we don't know exactly why they lost pneumatics. So maybe it was something totally unrelated. But it just seems like with all this debris we keep seeing flying, we've seen umbilicals get knocked out before, and now possibly pneumatics getting lost by something. It just seems like a flame diverter would make sense. But we'll have to wait, and hopefully we'll learn more about why they lost pneumatics.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen those residual fires sort of in the engine compartment during and after Raptor burns. Maybe, one of those little fires that didn't really hurt Raptor, but managed to maybe like melt something important, like a wiring harness or something like that. And to that end, thanks for the $4.99. David C says wiring bundle melted and can't control anything. Yeah, I mean that sounds plausible, David C. It does, based on what Elon said. It sure sounds like they do not currently have control of this vehicle, and they're just gonna have to wait and see what happens. Which is wild, absolutely wild to say. But I mean, this is testing. It's important to remember that this is a test campaign, and part of testing is failing. And if you don't fail, well, then you're being too conservative. So obviously, we don't want to see anything bad happen here. We don't want to see these kinds of mishaps or setbacks. We would have preferred to see nominal static fire tonight, and then another static fire soon after, and then flight as soon as possible. I know we all want to see flight as soon as possible, but This is why they test. I hate that stupid idiom. This is why we test. But this is literally what testing is for. And it's important to remember that this is not an operational rocket or not an operational launch system. This is strictly a test program. And when you test new things, when you try new things, this is what happens. Absolutely fascinating events here tonight. So now we just kind of wait and see what happens with that header tank, huh? NNA, thank you so much for the $4.99. Thomas and Fang, thank you for the $2. They say, is Mary safe if it blows? Fingers crossed for SN8. Yes, Mary is in a safe location. Thank you for asking. And NNA, thank you for the $4.99. I think I already read that one. Still, thank you. And $5. And CA and P Railroad says, glad I bought snacks for the long night. Don't pop. Gotta have some. Elon tweeted again. He said, maybe melted an engine pre-burner or fuel hot gas fold. Whatever it is caused pneumatics need to design out this problem.
So maybe, okay, so there you go. Maybe it was not a flame diverter issue, although who knows why they lost the pre-burner hot gas. But that to me sounds like it was probably an issue with the engine itself rather than exhaust knocking something loose or thrust knocking something loose.
Yeah, that sounds really bad. If it was in fact Raptor barfing guts out, that's incredibly bad.
So again, if you're just joining us, there was I guess we can call it a off-nominal static fire attempt. I don't know if we're gonna go as far, or if we should go as far as to say it was a failed static fire attempt, but it certainly did not go to plan. And they lost the pneumatic systems on the vehicle, according to Elon. They are now unable to safely drain the propellant in the liquid oxygen header tank, so the pressure is rising, and it could fail at any moment. So, Elon said hopefully it triggers the burst disk relief to relieve pressure, but if it doesn't, it's gonna pop the cork, which I'm assuming means a pretty big pop. So, hoping for SN8's sake that it would be the burst disk option. But whatever the case, we expect to see some sort of activity with the nose cone at any moment. We don't know if it's going to be minutes or seconds or an hour. We're not quite sure, but according to Elon, the situation does not sound too promising. So the long story short is, uh, even though the static fire is over, if you're still watching the stream, don't go anywhere. There is still a chance of some action.
Indeed. Yeah, and not just any kind of action, destructive action. Holy cow.
Yeah, Chris B making an interesting point in our back channel. The fact that they had an engine issue is not a good sign for a hop anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, presumably, if they melted a pre-burner and a Raptor is damaged, they're going to have to, at the very least, swap a Raptor out.
and more likely, Elon said, need to design out this problem. So, I mean, they could do a hop test and just hope this issue does not arise. But until this issue is designed out, there's no, or they can, I guess, maybe they could like find a way to reduce the odds of it happening. But I mean, according to Elon himself, he says we need to design out this problem. So that seems to indicate that this is a pretty serious problem that they need to get resolved. And who knows if it's worth them waiting for the hop until they have Raptors that are improved and don't have this problem. But I mean, if they lost pneumatics on an actual test flight, that is game over right there.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be that would be a loss of vehicle situation.
For sure. So this was not a. I mean, it was on the test stand. So in terms of the test program going forward, unless there's like a significant rapid unplanned disassembly, which I'm not sure is too likely given that the nose cone header tank is kind of isolated from the rest of the vehicle. I mean, I don't want to jinx it, but just guessing here, I don't think any potential delays from this potential incident would be too bad. But if it had been a test flight, you're looking at potentially damaged launch stand infrastructure and whatnot. So if the Raptors had ignited during the actual flight test and immediately took out the pneumatic system, that could have been quite bad.
Holy cow. I mean, we're just sitting here waiting for that burst disk to go. Like, I wonder how long it would take. I wonder if we'll get an update from Elon saying, like, successfully detanked or something like that. I hope we do. Yikes. Not Manly in chat says, so we're taking bets on pop versus burst. I mean, but which is which? I guess burst is burst disk and pop is pop. I'm gonna go with burst. At least I hope it's burst. That's really nice that we were able to get those tweets from Elon, because this is indeed a very perplexing state of the vehicle. It's been in this same sort of steady state, kind of frozen since that firing happened. There was a very energetic vent right after the engine fired, but then it's kind of been stuck like this for however long. So very interesting. Hopefully it's a pop. Or no. Hopefully it's a burst, not a pop. Wow. This is like this is kind of intense, but also, I mean, I wonder how long it would take pressure in that space in the header tank in the nose cone to get to a point where it pops the burst. I mean, is that the kind of thing that could take like hours? Like if you put dry ice in a like Coke bottle or something, it'll take like, I don't know, 30 seconds to pop. Obviously it's plastic and not stainless steel, but huh.
Well, while we wait for something to happen, I guess we'll just keep taking super chats and questions.
Yeah, if you want to pitch questions at me, go for it. I'm actually not at my command station right now, so I can't
Yeah,
see what's coming in.
I'll look for some questions. I don't know I know the answer to this one, but Thunder Turtle is asking, where is the birth disk located on the Starship?
Yeah, I mean we don't know, but that's presumably near the nose cone area, right? Like up near the tip is what I would expect.
Yeah, I would
Something
guess
something.
like some sort of valve or something near the header tank that could relieve pressure.
Yeah, exactly. That's basically what I would expect. And I wouldn't expect it to be sort of like any length of plumbing down from that tip. I would be somewhere, maybe even part of the structure of the nose cone itself.
And hopefully that valve is not on the far side, but we can't see it. But that far side is where the heat shield would be on an orbital Starship design, so presumably the valve would be on the side facing us. Although this is an early prototype, so there could be a, you know, future design improvement to move the location of the valve, but hopefully it'll be quite visible when it happens so we can tell. But I I'm also getting some people in Discord are telling me that yeah, a lot of people are pointing out that we saw the drone flying around to nose cone earlier.
Oh yeah,
So
good point.
it was probably inspecting this issue, looking for signs of what was going on.
Yeah, very very good point. I didn't even think of that, but you're right. Good call, member Discord. Thank you. This is crazy. Come on,
Nozomu,
SN8. You can do it.
Nozomu, I apologize if I mispronounced your name. It's unintentional launch abort nose cone thruster. Thank you for the $2. Stop begging for likes. Stop begging for likes is her name. So I'm just reading it. Thank you for the $5. Um, don't they have only around 40 minutes left in the road closure? What's going to happen with that if they are unable to detank? What will happen with that if they are unable to detank is they will simply extend the road closure. If there is a safety reason to extend the road closure, they will do that in the interest of public safety. Of course, it is ideal for SpaceX to try to stay relatively inside of the road closures most of the time, but obviously if there's like a safety reason for them to extend it, they will. So this road closure will likely be extended for several hours at a minimum, I would guess.
Yeah, this is definitely something I would call a safety issue. Definitely a safety issue right now.
Moldy Space Industries, thank you for the $2. Can't believe I nearly missed this. Hashtag Mary Fan Club. Jane, thank you for the £2. L Motorsport Fan, $5. What will be quicker, tracing and fixing SN8 or pushing forward with SN9? I would maybe say fixing Raptor from what Elon said, that we need to design out this problem because iterating on an engine is probably a lot more difficult than something you can just tweak on SN8 or 9. Those engines designs are probably the most complicated part of the entire vehicle. So,
Yeah, if you think about it, Starship is merely a vessel for the Raptor.
yeah, I
Um,
think,
like
yeah,
if they have to do redesigns on the Raptor itself, though, like, do you think they would pull all three Raptors off and then put three brand new Raptors on that they had changed to address this issue? That would take a lot of time.
yeah, I don't know.
Wow.
Or maybe, I mean, this, I don't want to speculate too much because clearly everything we say is happening today, but I mean, I think there is a chance. I think it's fair to say there is a chance at this point that SN8 could not be flying anymore based on what's happened tonight. Again, it's way too early to say for sure. We'll have to wait for Elon to say, but I could see a scenario where they just have to stand down to fix this problem for a couple of weeks, and by that point, they have a better Starship fully complete and ready to test. So at that point, it's like, why don't you just go with the better designed Starship that's probably going to be more reliable? That's just an
Yeah.
option again, but I think it's one of you know at the start of today's testing, I would say SN8 not flying was a low probability based on the current test results or the previous test results that we have seen. But now you add this test into the equation, and the probability of SN8 during a test flight at some point seems to have decreased substantially, albeit still a reasonable chance. But clearly issues that have to get it out of their system first.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely plausible that serial number 9 now could be the one that does the 15-kilometer hop, and that is why they build multiple prototypes at once. In case they have an issue with one, they have another one ready to go.
Huh. The lights just went off. Did you notice that, Jack? I was looking at questions, and half the light. I think it's only Starhopper that is providing most of the light source we're seeing right now. Clearly, the Starship is not being lit on our side right now. It's very dark, but you can still see those bright lights from Starhopper on the left-hand side. And if you do an A/B test and you rewind 5 minutes, you will clearly see that a lot of the pad lights have turned off. Not sure why that was, but they could be trying to make some changes to the ground support equipment. Perhaps they're troubleshooting some options here.
They're like doing an Apollo 13 style thing where they're trying to plug a square thing into a round hole so they can get power back to the vehicle, or who knows?
Let's see what else we have. Does anybody have any insight into what is venting in the lower part of the vehicle? I think it's liquid oxygen. Right now, it sounds like they don't have any way to detank the vehicle by pumping out the propellant back to the tank farm to be recycled like they would ideally do in a normal circumstance. So it seems like they are just venting all that liquid oxygen out of those vents at the bottom of the Starship, and that's what you're seeing right now. Unfortunately, it sounds like the liquid oxygen header tank at the top might also have some issues. So I don't know if they also had liquid oxygen in the header tank or in the main tank and the header tank for this test, or if they are still able to get some liquid oxygen out, but clearly there is something being vented, so I'm not sure exactly if that's coming from the main tank or the header tank, but based on Elon saying pressure is rising in the header tank, I'm not quite sure what's going on right now. I mean, I would guess it's coming from the main tank, but it could be the type of thing where it just cannot detank the header tank quickly enough. I'm not quite sure. But yes, Rise has a similar question, and I think the reason we're still seeing so much venting is because they have lost the ability to properly detank Starship due to the anomaly with the pneumatic system.
Yeah, basically, it's just in the state that it was in after it finished static fire. It is stuck in that post-static fire state.
Yeah, and Calpito, thank you for the $5. They basically have the same question I was just alluding to: is why is liquid oxygen pouring out of these vents if they're not able to detank the header tank? So maybe the main tank had liquid oxygen in it for this test, because remember the main tank is separate from the header tank. So maybe they can vent out the main tank, but they can't vent the header tank. I'm not sure, but according to Elon, pressure is rising in the header tank.
I'm like constantly refreshing his Twitter to make sure I don't miss anything that he's going to add.
And Dog, I don't think that's a vent on the left side of the nose cone. I think that is just the pad lighting right now because a lot of this light's turned off. It kind of looks like a vent, but if you look really closely, that's just a flap on the nose cone being illuminated by those pad lights on Starhopper. Tech Controller says, I wonder what the burst disk relief is set to. Do you have any idea what the header tank is rated for? They did, several months ago, they did some proof tests of the header tank, so they have done lots of testing with them before. I don't know if how much they've tested the improved design. Oh, there we go, Jack, look. Something just
Wow,
happened.
that looks like a burst disk going.
That looks controlled though, so I think you're right. I think that might be the less bad of the two options. Am I speaking too soon? I hope not, but I was reading the super chats and then I looked back and it looks like the burst disk has gone.
Yep, sure enough. That sure looks like a popped burst disk there, not
Yeah.
a partially destructed nose cone from a header tank exploding. So hopefully this is the least bad of the two outcomes here.
So at the
What
very
is
least,
a
they're going to have to
different night?
replace the burst disk.
Yeah, at the very least, and probably a Raptor also, right? And maybe
Yeah.
some wiring or some pneumatics or who knows. But significant work will have to be done now on serial number 8. And I am extremely glad I did not yet rent any camera equipment for the hop. I almost rented gear today. I almost did, and then I didn't. So yeah, if you're joining and you're wondering what's going on, it looks like SN8 conducted a static fire. The static fire did not go well. Something either happened to the Raptors or the Raptor that fired, we're not sure how many it was, or the Raptor itself firing caused an issue and melted something, but they lost control of the vehicle. They were unable to detank and relieve pressure. Pressure built up to the point that it's at right now, and the burst disc in the nose cone has let go, looks like. So that pressure will now be vented out of that hole that is newly formed, and they're just going to have to let everything boil off before they can get back to the vehicle, right, Michael? Like the road could be closed for hours
Oh,
as everything boils off.
if they totally lost pneumatics, they have no way to properly drain the CH4 either. So they will have to let that boil off, and that will take days.
That's
If
really worrying. If there's methane in there, and it's currently venting the LOX out of the main tank through those bottom tri-vents. Hopefully we don't get an SN3 situation where the weight of the nose cone and the methane tank crumple SN8. That would be very bad.
Well, the good news I think is that the static fire does not use much propellant, whereas the cryo test they filled it up all the way or most of
Got
the
it.
way. So I
Yes,
think there's a lot less weight
that
right
makes
now
sense.
in the methane tank, which might
Yeah,
help.
very, very good point. I hadn't considered that, but you're absolutely correct. With the cryo-proof tests, they were literally filling the entire tank with liquid nitrogen, which is surely a lot more weight than a very minorly filled methane tank. It looks like that vapor there. I don't know. Maybe I can't A/B test right now, but I mean, hopefully it'll just eventually, slowly start to peter out. But this could be the state of the vehicle for the rest of the night.
I mean, on a positive note, one good thing is that somebody decided that they should have a burst disk just in case. That design decision seems to have played off quite favorably for Starship SN8.
"20 minutes left in the window, but like you said, very likely they're going to be extending it just for safety concerns."
Yeah.
I'm going to step away for a second and get another drink. If you want to queue up some questions, pitch them at me in a minute. I'm down, happy to ramble on,
Yeah.
but give me a moment.
Sounds good. So again, we're not quite sure if they have access or the capability to detank the methane back through the methane recondenser on the ground support equipment side right now, but if they cannot, we're looking at several days of Starship SN8 likely being at the pad with the road closed because if they have no way to detank the methane, they have to let it boil off, and that process will take a while. So you can see at the bottom of your screen, they're still venting safely and controllably a lot of that liquid oxygen, but also that header tank, that liquid oxygen header tank at the top of the nose cone has had its burst disk go after a rapid rise in pressure, or I guess a gradual rise in pressure, I should say, after a static fire resulted in a loss in pneumatics, which resulted in the loss of the ability to safely detank most of the Starship. So that's why that nose cone is currently venting. That was not supposed to happen. that is a burst disk that had to go. That was a built-in safety feature they had in case they had a problem like this where they could not safely detank or vent the nose cone. So that nose cone header tank has burst its burst disk and is now letting out a lot of the pressure inside of it. Uh, Swizgar, thank you for the super chat. Jocelyn Wagner, wow, $25. Is this another indicator that Starship out to have an abort system? This is just an early prototype being tested, so I wouldn't read too much into it. I think, they really are planning on having things go wrong during the test phase. Now, should Starship have an abort system? That's a whole nother question. I think a lot of people would argue yes, at least at first. But I don't think this test is really a good um, indicator of whether or not that's the case. This is an early prototype. They knew there would be problems. They expect to find problems. The reason they test is so that they can find those problems before they are flying operationally. So I don't think this test should be read into too much, although it will be interesting to see what the repercussions of this anomaly are. Is SN8 still going to fly after this anomaly? That's the big question. Noel, thank you for the $5. Remember what I said about the header tank vent being blocked earlier and the drone checking it out before the static fire? I mean, I'm not sure. I think based on what Elon said, the pneumatics were lost during or right after the static fire. So I'm not sure if it happened beforehand, but certainly the lack of venting after the static fire was not a good sign. Laszlo, thank you for the $5. Connor, thank you for the membership. Jack, Katina, also new members. Thank you so much. The Heaven Man, the tank farm is safe. The tank farm they have control over, I believe. It's just Starship SN8 itself. They're not able to detank safely, or at least part of it safely. But I think the tank farm they most likely still have complete control over, unless that static fire also took out some control panels. But I haven't seen Elon mention that, so I think the tank farm itself is likely in a stable configuration right now. Ray Rayguard, $5. It's the curse of the dragon. Every time a crew flies, a starship runs. Thank you for the coverage. Very good observation. If you don't remember, Starship SN4 detonated on the pad a day or two before the Demo 2 mission was set to fly, which is SpaceX's first crewed mission. So that was kind of obviously they were completely isolated and separate events, no relation between them, but now, a couple days before Crew 1, we've also seen a hiccup with the Starship program. So, nothing more than a coincidence, of course, but it is an interesting observation. But again, these are completely isolated programs. So, whatever happens if a Starship test is not to say that Crew Dragon or Falcon 9 is unsafe. Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon are operational, proven vehicles over numerous successful missions. Starship is a prototype that has not proven itself yet, and they expect to have anomalies. So, don't think that the astronauts are in danger because of what happened here. That is not the case. Airnose Boy, thank you for the €2. Horizon, pressurizing equals anxiety. Header tank equals brain. Thank you for the super chat. Burst this test successful, says Jordan. Thank you, Jordan.
All right, I'm back.
I'm just going through the final super chats. NNA with $5. Thank you. Calypto back with another super chat. Maybe they killed power to parts of the tank farm to limit possible ignition sources just in case. I'm not sure, perhaps. Tyson Brady with $5 Australian. Change name of stream to S8 burst test, please. We've already changed the name of the stream once today. I don't know if we want to do it again, but maybe we should. I think that's actually not a bad idea. I'm not going to need that exact words, but we'll say, I think SN8 static fire And post-test
Burst.
disk. Burst or burst? I'll say burst disk, so people don't think we're clickbaiting. Burst disk incident.
Something like that. Yeah.
I don't know.
Good call.
I just worry that people are gonna see burst disk or burst, and they're gonna think like the entire vehicle popped. I want to say burst disk.
We'll figure out something good
Yeah.
for the name there. We can
I'll
do
go
like
post-test burst
anomaly.
incident for now. I mean, if it popped, obviously we would have a more dramatic title, so I think that's fine.
I'm so glad it didn't pop. Oh my gosh. That
Yeah,
would have been
basically,
really bad.
nothing has gone as expected. We had heard it was going to be a static fire. Then we heard about dress rehearsal. Then their plans clearly changed again because they did a static fire. And now this test has ended with the burst disc having to be used. So maybe
I
they
don't
should have
even.
gone with the wet dress rehearsal. I don't know, but it's probably one of those things where hindsight is 2020, and it's a trade-off between being too risk averse and taking too many risks. So it's not like if you could go back in time and make the call, anybody could make the right call, but making the correct call in advance is what is challenging.
Yeah, that is interesting. That is how it went, right? We heard there was going to be a static fire, then we heard it was going to be a wet dress rehearsal, and then we heard. Well, we didn't hear anything, but then we saw
a static fire.
we saw a static fire, and yeah, I wonder if they got go fever to a certain extent. That's definitely a thought that comes into my mind: is did they have go fever, and should they have gone with the wet dress rehearsal instead, and potentially have avoided these? But like you said, Michael, hindsight is 2020. Anybody looking back at something can make the right call, but there's definitely a balance between being risk averse and taking risks and advancing rapidly. So definitely agree there. But oh man, definitely. I bet there's a lot of unhappy people in the control room right now. I mean, this is not a good situation. This is not a fun. This is not a fun time.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that have put a lot of. Well, I know there's a lot of people that have put a lot of hours and hard work into this spacecraft, or not spacecraft, but spacecraft prototype. We'll call it that because it is a design of something that SpaceX hopes to turn into a spacecraft. But yeah, when you have a setback like this, it definitely is not going to be fun for the engineers. But I don't see any problems that we've seen today that are not going to be something that SpaceX is not capable of solving. So
Absolutely.
it might be a setback of a couple weeks or a month or 2 months, but it's not going to be like a long-term issue with the Starship program. I think 2 years from now, this will hardly be a day that we even remember because it wasn't that spectacular. It was just a couple minutes of tense waiting as we were waiting to find out if it was going to be a pop or burst disc going. And luckily, it was just a burst disc, so not too big of a deal. Aaron, $42, very generous. Aaron says, keep up the amazing work. Thank you so much, Aaron. And Slopey with 50 pounds. Two very generous super chats. We appreciate them both. Slopey says, well done on the stream tonight. Keep up the good work. Everyone burst a disc rather than pop a cork. I think
Yeah,
that's the moral of today.
I'd rather burst a disc than pop a cork, I guess. Although in human terms, bursting a disc sounds terrible and popping a cork sounds delicious. So, but in Starship terms, everything is inverse. Who knows? Oh man.
Drake says, how will the methane boil off if the vents closed? But they will open up some vents at some point. I don't know if they're venting that yet, but they will vent it out if they have to. Yeah, people in chat are pointing out the drone. You can see it every now and then examining that nose cone, but it looks like the situation at the pad is under control now, from what we can tell. The burst disk is clearly going. That was the concern that Elon noted, so I think the question is now, is there going to be something, if this is a situation that they can recover from in a couple hours and then reopen the pad, or is this, like I said, going to be a potentially several hour, multi-day slow boil off process to save this vehicle? from its current state. But I don't think it's going to pop from what we can tell at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, we don't know that that's the burst disk that we're seeing right now. I'm assuming it is. It would make sense that it is based on the information that we have at hand, based on nothing more than an Elon tweet, which is agreeably, a very small amount to base a whole argument on. But I mean, between two outcomes, the nose cone going kaput and a smaller portion of it failing in a smaller way, this to me looks like the second thing. So burst disk or not, weld failure or whatever it could be, the pressure is being relieved at this point. And I would say there's very little risk to, the thing popping at this point, given that the pressure that we've been worried about building up is being relieved. So I was worried about this thing doing like like in like Looney Tunes or something, or like Roadrunner versus Coyote, like you plug up the gun and it banana peels. I was worried something like that was going to happen. Or I just saw your snarky tweet. Nice.
I mean, what I tweeted was nose cone header tank cryoproof test successful. Well, I was partially joking. I partially wasn't joking. I mean, those burst disks are rated to burst at a set pressure. So I think from Elon's tweet, he was probably alluding to that they didn't know if the nose cone was going to make it to that pressure before it gave out, and clearly the nose cone did. So the nose cone design, or the header tank in the nose cone clearly achieved the design goals. So that's a good sign.
That's a hilarious and logical point. It's a very good combination there. Oh man, good stuff. What a weird night.
Philip pointing out in our members Discord that SpaceX is not a huge fan of burst disks because they cannot be tested more than once, but clearly they had them on the Starship as like not something they intended to use, but as an extra safety catch net in case something went wrong, and that's what we saw today. But the burst disks are not something they try to rely on for operational use, with the one exception being, Crew Dragon has burst disks in the Super Dracos that were added to simplify the design after it had some issues during testing of Crew Dragon. But that being said, even the burst disks on Crew Dragon Super Dracos or on the Super Dracos, which are the abort thrusters and are not intended to be used in operational circumstances. So, SpaceX basically uses the burst disks only on things that only really have to work once because they want their vehicles to be quickly and easily reusable and reflyable. And you see that also with explosive bullets. SpaceX does not use explosive bullets in most cases. I'm not actually aware of a single case of SpaceX using an explosive bullet. I'm sure there could be. I'm not sure how Starship's hold down points work right now, but SpaceX tends to use things that can be repeatedly tested, like pneumatics and stuff like that. So interesting how stuff has played out today, but clearly good to have those burst disks there as a backup.
Yeah, before today, I didn't even know there was a burst disk in the nose cone header. Wow. So look at that. That LOX on the right side is starting to kind of peter out. It feels like it's less voluminous coming out of the nose cone. So hopefully things are continuing to boil off here. Well, not hopefully, they are. Cryogenic liquids are continuing to boil off. Griffin O'Malley, thank you for the $5. They say this will only result in a more robust, reliable vehicle. Feels like failing here is a good thing. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'm sure glad it happened on the pad and they didn't melt whatever they melted mid-flight or mid-landing burn or what have you, because that would have been extremely bad to lose pneumatics or hydraulics. What was it? I gotta go find the Elon tweet again. It would have been extremely bad to lose control mid-flight, obviously. At least on the pad, they can sit there and hope the burst disk works and let everything boil off. But yeah, next vehicle will be more robust and more reliable, which is true. At least we hope. Yeah, pneumatics loss is what Elon said. Pneumatics loss. Wow. And then the square in the air, thank you for the 2 pounds. They say if this had been NASA, it would be years. I assume you mean until a 15-kilometer flight. And that's true, but this is definitely not NASA.
So I wonder how long it's going to take for all this venting to die down. It looks like at the base of the vehicle that venting is clearly kind of petering out now, but that venting at the top where the nose cone is still going strong.
What? I mean, my brain is melted. What did we just see? Come on, SN8. I hope we still get to see SN8 fly at this point.
I guess one interesting thing to note is that we were talking about some uncertainty about whether it was going to be a static fire or wet dress rehearsal, and perhaps that being a sign that they might have been aware of some potential issues. But maybe the issue they found today with the Raptor engines was something that they didn't realize is quite as big of a problem, and the fact that they tested today and went for the static fire is actually going to help accelerate things by making them aware of an issue sooner that could have been problematic in the future and could have resulted in a more serious anomaly later down the road. So maybe it was actually helpful in terms of timeline that they static fired quickly today, just to get them that data sooner that there was a problem with the Raptor design.
Sure enough, that's some 5D chess right there. DJ Esmeralda, thank you for the membership. Welcome to Red Team. Esmeralda, right? Yeah. Thank you for the membership. I'm gonna throw a triple Gwyn, Gwyn or Gwen. I'm still unclear on how you're supposed to pronounce it, but I'm gonna throw a triple Gwyn in chat. Hopefully, I'm not messing it up this time. Oh, it's a quadruple one. Look at that. You get some members emojis and other cool stuff like preview videos, DJ Esmeralda. So enjoy. Thank you for the membership. Looking for some more questions to answer. Let's see. Calmly Chilled says, "Oh no!" Wait, there it is. I thought I lost it. Calmly Chilled says, if this is a Raptor design fault, then has SpaceX potentially got 40 to 50 scrap Raptors to replace? I don't think necessarily, because even though that we've seen Raptor up to 42 at the build site, and we've seen, if 42 is at the build site, then whatever they have at McGregor and whatever they're building is probably up in the 50s or further. You're right. But I don't think that means all of those Raptors are scrap. And I also don't think they necessarily have 40 or 50 laying around. I mean, I wager a fair number of those exploded themselves on the test stand. So who knows how many they actually have in inventory and how many are really even flight worthy at any given time. But hopefully, whatever issue it is that Elon said they needed to design out, they're able to just replace some parts. It doesn't necessarily require a full back to the drawing board redesign, but we don't know. Fair question. But definitely, I wish they had 40 to 50 Raptors sitting around, but I don't think they do. I think they have a much smaller number than that, probably, but I really don't know. Vehicle much less, like, it's venting a lot less now from all of its various places. Now it's really just the nose cone, right?
Yeah.
A little bit of condensation under
Yeah,
the skirt
I was
there
about to
still.
say a little bit from the skirt, but mostly from the top. That skirt condensation is interesting.
To me,
Really
that would
quite,
mean there's still liquid
yeah.
oxygen in the bottom of that dome, of that bulkhead there.
I really want to know if they put liquid oxygen in the main tank for this test or not.
Yeah, that's kind of an important question at this point, right? In terms of how long it'll take for them to let everything boil off and how long they'll be able to actually get out to the pad.
And also just in terms of all that venting we saw from the skirt after the anomaly. That's the part that makes me think they did have propellant in the main tank, because if they couldn't detank the header tank properly or safe the header tank properly, where was that other liquid oxygen coming from?
Yeah, fair. Yeah, very good question.
Yeah, Andre Carmel in our Discord is saying have to put a little to cool the tanks and strengthen them. That's a good point. As Elon has said, the steel gets uh more it strengthens at cryogenic temperatures, so they probably did put a little bit of liquid oxygen in that main tank to chill it down for this testing. So fair point.
Jake Biddlecombe, thank you for the $10, Jake. Asking, do we have an example of? Oh, it disappeared. What?
Did it lose a message? I'll
It
find
was
it.
a super chat from Jake. Oh, I got it. Do we have an example from a tank this size needing to boil off? Would it really take days to fully empty? And have they lost control of just the header tank or the bottom tanks too? It sounded from what Elon tweeted that they lost control for the entire vehicle, but unclear. But as for the tank size and boil off time question, Didn't there's one of the vehicles, I'm trying to remember which, where we kind of had a similar situation where they had to wait a while for everything to boil off. Which one was that? I'm blanking.
SN4.
Was SN4?
Yeah, one of the static fires before the anomaly had a similar. It wasn't a pneumatics issue. It knocked off the fuel lines. They were unable to drain the methane.
Got it. And so it took them what, like 36 hours or something, like a day
Something
and a
like
half
that.
or
Yeah, a
multiple
long time.
days.
And
Yeah.
also,
So
I mean, both the hops, they don't have ground support equipment hooked up to the landing pad. So when they land the vehicle after a hop, they also have to let it boil off for a while.
which really makes my mind blown even more that after Starhopper did its 150-meter hop, when they reopened the roads so quickly, and we were able to go down and take pictures of it. Like, holy cow, that was special. That was really special. Oh man. So yeah, to answer your question, Jake, could be many hours, many hours.
Header tank venting flow rate has really decreased now.
Oh yeah. Yeah, nothing out of those bottom LOX vents, really just only coming out of the bottom of the skirt now. I wonder how those Raptors are going to respond to being super cold for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
This is a lot. This is definitely a setback to the 15-kilometer hop campaign, but like you were saying earlier, hopefully overall will not end up, resulting in a net gain for the program as a whole, as hopefully this will prevent an issue like this from popping up further down the line at a more destructive and concerning point. That's about the best spin I can put on it, but definitely a setback, right? Like, we're not going to see. I dare say at this point we're not going to see SN8 fly before Thanksgiving.
I don't
But
want to be super pessimistic,
okay, fair.
but it seems like there could be a chance that there will not be a hop in 2020. I mean, a hop to 15 kilometers in 2020. We'll have to see though. It just depends on how things shake out. But if they decide they need to fix their Raptor design, that's going to be a significant delay, potentially.
Yeah. Yikes.
I mean, because even if they say they have to fix the Raptor design, then we're going to move on to SN9, which is, we don't know what the option is going to be they decide to go with. But that seems like a potential, significant probability option. You don't know if it's the most likely option, but it's maybe like a 30% chance at least at this point, I would say. If they go that route, you're looking at, probably 3 to 4 weeks of testing of SN9, just normal cryogenic proof test, static fires, and all the shakeout testing. And you have to fix the Raptor issue. And those combined would put you into 2020 almost certainly. So, I mean,
Oof.
2021, of course. I said that wrong, but
Yeah, I know what you meant. 2021. That's a big oof there, buddy.
I don't want to be too negative, but I mean, and of course, this is all test campaign, so super fluid, and it's how it goes sometimes. But if they go that option, and again, if they go that option, it seems like it could be 2021. But they could also decide that they're going to repair SN8 and take some action to mitigate the problem with Raptors and hop in 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know, but
Oof.
I think if we learned anything of Starship is that you just have to wait and see rather than trying to make definitive guesses. Or
Yeah,
even definitive information changes every hour, so
yeah. And that's why we're always clear when when we're just guessing on things, and even when we know things, we like to make it clear that situation in South Texas is clearly fluid. Rough Rider Show in our member Discord asking what would happen if Raptors stay too cold for too long. Is that a bad thing? I don't know, and I don't know if there is a too cold and what too cold is. I mean, we do know that they chill them down before flight, so maybe they're fine. Maybe they're just happy and hanging out. Who knows? I don't. I mean, Mars is really cold, right? so they're probably fine. Good counterpoint there, Andre. This is just me conversating with Discord now at this point.
NNA, thank you for the $5. Bill Charleston, thank you for the $2. He says good times. With some exploding emojis. Or firework emojis. I don't know what those were. Graham's asking, what is the turnaround time for a burst disk? I wouldn't think it would be too long. I think they would just swap out the burst disk. So you're probably
Yeah,
looking
that's
at
kind of the point of a burst disk, right?
Yeah.
Is it's easy to swap out.
Yeah, I think the Raptor that fried itself is probably the long pull on the long pull item on the shortest path to a hop at this point. You're gonna have to definitely swap out at least one Raptor. Replace the burst disk, which shouldn't take too long, I don't think, although I'm not an expert. And then, decide what we're gonna do to mitigate this problem from happening again. So probably looking at late November, early December, the absolute earliest for a hop at this point. I think, though, like I said, there is a chance this could be a even bigger slip, but we'll see.
Wait, what did you just say? Early December?
At the earliest.
Yikes.
I said late November, early December at the earliest is my prediction.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I mean, makes sense. And again, I mean, we were checking off the milestones before 15-kilometer flight could happen. We could get to this point again in an amount of time, and then hit another different roadblock before we get to the next step. So
I'm also wondering what caused the pneumatics to go. I mean, obviously if they had the sorry, I got distracted. I just saw some vapor from the potentially the recondenser. It was hard to tell. Maybe I think that's just from the skirt. I'm dumb, but yeah, I'm wondering what specifically caused the pneumatics to go. I mean, I could see a Raptor engine anomaly causing a loss of pneumatics to that specific Raptor, but this seems to be like an issue that took out pneumatics for the entire Starship. So, was it the fire we saw coming down that spread? Was there a shock wave, or what exactly caused the pneumatics to go? Is what I would be interested in knowing more about.
yeah, that's definitely concerning that could even happen. I wonder if there's any sort of redundancy, or if because this is just a stripped down prototype, there's little redundancy built in for stuff like that. I mean, you would hope for something that's actually going to fly to 50,000 feet, there would be a significant amount of that. But yeah, I mean, definitely some changes are going to come to how they have assembled this whole vehicle, because this was not good.
Yeah, MM54, yeah. Engine failure could have very well taken out the gimbal lines, but that would not be the entire vehicle's pneumatics. That's my question, is how did the Raptor engine fire or anomaly end up taking out the entire vehicle's pneumatics? Because it did seem, from what we could tell, to be mostly contained. Although, I mean, clearly the destruction seems to be more widespread, so I'm not sure how exactly that happened or what was taken out, but interesting that one engine's problem seems to have had more widespread effects, despite us seeing a, rapid unplanned disassembly or something from the bottom of the vehicle.
Can we watch a replay again, or do you still have the capability to do that, or is that going to take a bunch of wrangling for you?
I can see. I'm just asking Mary if Mary's discussing she wants to upload, so I'm trying to. We could go to replay though, and let Mary go home and upload. That might be a good idea.
I'm up for whatever.
Let me queue
Man,
up a replay. Do we want to replay the static fire or replay of the pop? Or the burst
static
of the
fire.
pop? Okay.
I guess static fire. Because the pop was, I mean, it looks just like any other vent from our perspective, you know.
Here's the replay again. This is a replay. This is a replay. I'll say that one more time of
We need
the
like a
static
big,
fire.
big red lettering somewhere on the screen that says replay.
There you go. The live videos in the corner. That was the static fire we saw earlier. That
So that was probably fine, right? I mean, it looked like it stopped really quickly,
yeah.
but the debris coming off the
And the
pad.
replay system is having issues. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
You're good. The debris coming off the pad was no more intense or different than we saw with the previous static fire, but the activity happening now, is what looks bad and different. And this could be the result of something that happened during that static that we saw. But yeah, I don't know. I wonder what everything that we saw flying there was. And it was the same as the other static fire. If that was actually material from the engine this time, or I mean, so many questions.
Okay, and Mary is going to go home and upload, so we're going to wrap up here, but we'll finish watching a couple replays, and I'm going to see if I can get this to play more smoothly. We'll try 720 on the replay. Let's rewind. And we'll watch it one more time.
It was a really quick firing. It stopped quickly. It didn't seem to be the same duration as the one that we saw previously.
Yeah, this thing does not seem too happy right now. Sorry about the jitteriness. We might just have to wrap up, and you can always, if you want to see the replay, just rewind the stream. It's all cached on here.
It's at 919 local.
Yeah, 919 local. So if you want to see the proper replay, there it is right there again. Rewind your stream until it says 919 local.
Wait, was it 919 local or is it 919
oh, wait,
local
that's
now?
The overlay.
Yes, that's a local time right now. I'm an idiot.
Yes.
let me see.
Okay, I can check.
I like how you just
time was 7:14. 7:14. Rewind to 7:14 if you want to see it happen again. But
you just accepted my word. I'm sorry. Yeah.
That was the static fire that caused havoc at the pad.
7:14.
Anyway, thank you all for watching. Jack, any closing words?
Nope. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll just have to wait and see what happens next with serial number 8.
Okay. Thank you all for watching. Thank you to Mary for being out there for camera. I am Michael Baylor, and we will see you all next time. I don't know when it's going to be for Starship SN8, given what we saw today, but we got an Atlas V launch tomorrow afternoon, so that'll be our next live stream, I think. So see you all then for that, and I guess until then, have a good evening.
Whoa!
What did I forget?
This isn't the replay still, right? Is this the replay still?
This is
okay.
Replay.
Sorry, I'm freaking out. Okay, all right, we're fine. you can end it.
On that note, here's the intro video or outro video, whatever you want to call it. I guess the outro video in this case. Bye, everyone.
Sorry.
The chamber pressure looks good. Doubling up. Roger, roll with planet. Water towers fly! Sliding downside speed off. Speed off.
Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.